Greetings, friends. Welcome to another conversation as part of our Pax Romana Dialogues in response to the COVID-19 crisis. Today, we are joined by two friends. We have Maria Grace, who's coming from the Bangladeshi Catholic student movement in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, Bangladesh. She has just finished her university studies and on leadership of the IMCS movement in Bangladesh, BCSM. And then from New York, closer to where I am, is Lois Harr. She is the director of campus ministry and social action at Manhattan College, a Lasallian Catholic college in New York City. Myself, I am Kevin Ahern. I am on the leadership of ICMICA, Pax Romana, and a professor of religious studies at Manhattan College, where Lois is. And so we are in the midst of this crisis, and we are continuing our conversations, which can be found on our websites and our YouTube pages to see more. And we'll begin, as we are doing with these conversations, what's going on in people's lives? How has this virus affected our world? So let's start in Bangladesh and hear what's happening to students, what's happening to the society there, and then we'll move on to other questions.
Thank you, Kevin. So in Bangladesh right now, the government has declared a holiday of 10 to 15 days. So basically we are all are in our homes. So at first the schools were closed, and right now the school, college, and university students are taking their classes sitting at home by online. And thoroughly the offices and the other institutions got closed, and a lot of people are doing work from home, and the other people are not working right now. So this is the situation, and so basically the problem lies with the general people who live under the poverty line. So they're the people who are the most sufferers, and they live from hand to mouth. So this situation is like keeping them hungry, because they have no food, they have no money, and some of them have no shelters also. So there's no point of home quarantine for them. So that is the situation. And basically the whole country is in a standstill right now. So that is the position right now. Yeah.
Lois?
Well, as you mentioned, Kevin, I always like to add that I'm in the Bronx in New York City. That's really important to me. So to let our friends know. So some days life seems somewhat normal, because I'm blessed to be able to go to work every day, just like this, like as we're doing now. But so many people in New York now, it took us a little longer, but we are on, I think we're using the expression, we're paused. We don't want to say we're closed, or I guess all that sounds too scary. So our government has used the word paused, and people are supposed to stay home to the best they can. They can go out for groceries, prescriptions, and a walk, as long as you keep your social distancing. The college where Kevin and I work has gone on online teaching for the rest of this semester, so till late April, early May. So some of us, not myself included, were more proficient at that, and we're learning quickly how to use all kinds of new technology. The Bronx is one of the poorest places in the United States. It's really a poor urban place. And so people here, the people who are wage workers or in a sort of less formal economy, some of them are able to keep doing things that they were doing, and some cannot. If they're wage workers, they were working in restaurants or shops, and doing childcare or home care. Excuse me. So those jobs, in many cases, are no longer in effect. So they're not yet suffering entirely, but it's on the way, I would say, because money is going to run out. Now, our government passed a large aid package. It's always interesting to see, will that actually reach the people it should reach. There's a lot of benefit for large corporations and friends of government people, as is so often the case, but we're going to hope for the best that some of this actually gets to people. The other problem will be, of course, the infrastructure and who can get food ready for people and get it where people need it. But that hasn't seemed to be too big of a problem yet. People are seeming to be able to get food, but now the issue will be paying for food. So.
And I think as you both mentioned, we are obviously in our conversation here, and those listening are very privileged, right? I think we always have to remind ourselves in this moment, not everyone has the privileges that we do here, and we have to think about those at the margins that are most impacted by this. What is the reality of the church, or the response of the church in New York, Lois? And then we'll go back to Dhaka.
Well, you'd think it is a terrible thing, but actually I think it's a blessing that the church said we don't have to go to Mass. Now that's a great loss for people, but it seemed to me to insist that people go to Mass would be hearkening to the Middle Ages, because we would just somehow believe if we go to church, the germs won't hurt us there. So that I think was a good thing. Now people are struggling with how do you tend to your spiritual life, I think. And so I think I've seen some lovely things, prayer services available to people. There are some churches where just a handful of very small number of people are gathering, and there's a presider, and there'll be liturgy, and it's broadcast. So if people in the States, many people have the access to some kind of a television or radio or some online service, so they can at least participate that way. So I think that's been a blessing, that to see people rise to that and encourage people. And then I think also people in the Bronx, I know, including our own chaplain, Father Tom Franks, he created a little video yesterday of reflection on the gospel. And he's working to figure out with our folks at the college how to perhaps be able to broadcast the Mass, especially next week for Palm Sunday and Easter's coming. So I think those are really such important times for people to be wanting to be together, but I think we'll do the best we can. And then in the Bronx, where I'm working now and where I live, there's an interfaith clergy group that's pretty active. And so we've been participating with them everyone's doing their services online, and then also trying to put together a list of resources and things that are at their food or actually other internet providers for people who may not have regular internet. 30% of the households in the Bronx don't have broadband internet. Now that's high relative to other parts of the world, but it's low compared to the rest of this world in the US. So I think the church and the the religious folks and the spiritual folks are trying very hard to respond and keep people keep in touch with people and keep people in prayer and keep their spirits in good shape.
Maria or Grace?
So in Bangladesh, previously what happened is the churches were not thinking of closing the masses and stuff, but when the situation went worse, started to become more heavier, then the archbishops of the different districts of Bangladesh, one by one, started to close their churches, their masses, and discouraged the people to come to churches, rather to sit at their own homes and pray on a daily basis. And right now, all the churches are closed down, and each churches have their official pages online, and they are trying to run the Way of Cross and the Sunday prayer masses online. It is starting from today. So this is happening, and this will happen till the situation gets better. And each churches have some youth leaders like us who run the official pages and who has the contacts with the parish priest. So we keep in touch with the priests in our churches, and we update the informations on a regular basis so that the lay people can know what is happening in the churches and what structure they are like following right now. And the churches are like they are encouraging to stay home and pray at home and listen to the masses at home, daily go through the Holy Rosary prayers all together for the people who are infected. So this way, and the Gospels and all the Bible teachings are uploaded online. So basically, everything is now coming online. So that's the way we are practicing right now. Yeah.
There's a tremendous shift, obviously, both in terms of the church, but also in terms of, as both of you mentioned, in terms of the lives of specifically students, right? University students shifting both in Bangladesh and in the United States and elsewhere, shifting to online conversations, online courses, online learning. I'm curious, Grace, what is as being in touch with students there, how are students responding? What are they doing? You mentioned some more action of BCSM, but can you just share what the reality is for students in this moment?
Okay, so right now, we as a student movement are wanting to do a lot of stuffs regarding this situation, but as you know, the reality is speaking in a different manner. So even if a lot of ideas are coming up, we are not being able to do stuffs. But there are people in other districts of Bangladesh, our BCSM units, who are like right now, some of them are buying foods, the basic like rice, potato, and stuff, and they're packaging it and delivering it to those people who lives from hand to mouth, who doesn't have any option right now in this situation, and they're delivering it to their houses, to the rickshaw pullers, and those who cannot afford food right now. So they're doing like taking this kind of measures. Another group I know in Dhaka city, as we are not allowed to go outside of our houses, we cannot like run this kind of activities. So what we are doing recently, a lot of rumors are spreading due to COVID-19, and people are really, really panicked, and people are going literally crazy in Dhaka. So what we are doing, what they try to do is they try to post, like gather the authentic informations due to COVID-19 and posted it in different pages and like online, so that people get aware of the exact stuffs and not get panicked by the rumors around. So these are the little things we are trying to do, and we are planning of doing some more things. We really don't know how much we will be able to do because of the situation, but hopefully we'll try to figure some ways out of helping those poor people more and more.
Great. And Lois, the reality of students that you're working with, how are they responding? How are they trying to live as students, as student activists in this moment?
Well, I think the situation kind of is a spectrum for people. Some are concentrated. Well, maybe I should preface this by one thing. I know some of the literature that's out there. We talk about, I'm a baby boomer, and who's the Gen X, and who's Gen Millennial, and who's now Gen. I don't know what they're going to call this Gen. Someone said that we should call them Gen C for COVID, but iGen, or the internet generation. So these students are very savvy. Almost everyone I've talked to, anyone I know, they were ahead of some of the teachers and professors at the college, or even the staff, on how to use these kind of calls, how to use different platforms. So they're very knowledgeable about the technology infrastructure, even though they may not be real tech, they're not computer tech majors or anything, but They just know this stuff. They're native digital learners. But that said, we still have to catch up to how do we translate and transform, for instance, teaching with our students online in a course that wasn't online. How do we get proficient at making sure we learn just to mute when we're not talking? But I think beyond that, excuse me, we're trying in campus ministry, for instance, to the way I characterized it was, well, let's try to do what we normally do, but we're going to have to do it in a different way. Excuse me. So, for instance, we do programs of, we do something called a slice of social justice. So we're working now on what a slice of social justice is. It's a gathering at a period where there'd be a lot of people available, and we ask students to come, and usually students, sometimes faculty member or a guest speaker will present on some sort of, excuse me, social justice issue, and we buy pizza. And that's the slice with your social justice. And Kevin's done those, and many faculty and colleagues and lots of students, sometimes they present their research on a topic. So we haven't done one yet, but the idea is we're going to try to sort of make light of the part of, we're going to have one, but you'll have to bring your own slice. Yeah, kind of BYO slice or whatever. And things like that. So we're doing an agape latte. So we have a program. It's called Agape Latte. I started at Boston College. It's really like a coffee house, right? And people would gather, sometimes 70 to 100 people. Some students might play guitar or recite poetry, and so we're trying to see if we can do a gathering like that online. And then someone gives sort of a witness talk. So Kevin's done one of those. I've done one. We've had dozens of people do it over these last few years. So our colleague Connor is working on planning out, try to have a short version of this online each week now till the end of the semester. So I think what I do see, by and large, at least in my own experience, is lots of goodwill. It's all not perfect. It won't be perfect. It can't be. Well, obviously nothing is going to really be perfect this side of heaven, but I think that we really are trying very hard. We've told students they can call us. We've given out our emails and cell phone numbers and said we're going to sort of hold virtual office hours. So I think and there's some responses that we've heard from the students is that their responses are that they like that. They're glad to interact with people outside their own household. We have seen where some students are struggling because now they're home with 4 or 5 or 6, or I have one student, she's home, there's 12 of them in the house, and they're all trying to use the internet. And so it's been a little bit of a struggle for them. And this is, we're talking about, somebody living in New Jersey. They're not in a terribly underprivileged place at all, but it's still a struggle to accommodate everyone and make sure that everyone has how many computers do you have in the house? How much internet is there? Even if you have good internet. So I feel the positive thing about this, and our governor mentioned it yesterday, he said, try as best you can, find a silver lining. And there are things like that. I think the silver lining to me is there are people, as I would fondly refer to them as knuckleheads. Their foolish behavior, they continue to be selfish and self-centered. But mostly what I've seen is people are not like that, and that they're encouraging one another, that they're trying hard to do their schoolwork. We had about a dozen people assist our academic success folks the other day, about a week ago, and call all the students who have had, I guess we could call them marginal grades at midterm time, and just encourage them and say, now don't forget, you can get tutoring. This is where you call. Make sure are you okay? Do you have everything you need at home? And most of them were first nervous when they heard we were calling, and then they were very happy and reassured that the college was reaching out to them in concern, not in, you owe us money, and it wasn't that at all. It was, how are you? And how can the college is here to help you? So I think the thing that there is there's lots of struggle, and there's an awful lot of goodwill out there.
Excellent. I have one more question, but before that, I'm curious if either of you have questions for each other before we wrap up with one last question.
Grace, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, sure.
So do you live home with your family, and how is everyone in your household?
So, yes, I live with my family. And so far, everyone is in good health. But right now, our concern is our dad, because he has heart disease, he has diabetes, and he is above 60. So whenever moreover, he is a banker. So although we all can stay home, like leaving our jobs and stuff, or taking holidays, he can't do that on a regular basis. So on occasions, still he has to go to work, because no matter everything is like stopping, the banks are open, still open. So this is the situation. And my two brothers are students, so their classes are now not running. So they're at home, and my mother is a teacher, so her school is also closed. So everybody is at home right now, enjoying each other's company and eating healthy food, praying on a regular basis, trying to do that on a regular basis, because prayer is something which keeps your mind healthy. So in this, like this, we are trying to spend this time. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Grace, do you have a question for Lois at all?
So in our country, um, a lot of rumors are spreading right now, and no matter how hard we are trying to keep ourselves calm and quiet, we are not being able to do it after a certain extent. And to a certain extent, people does not even know what actually to do, where to go, and mentally, physically, they are like, some people are really quitting. So what would be your suggestions to the youngsters? What can we practice and do more to keep our mental health more healthy?
I was reading a newsletter put out by one of our local organizations, the Ethical Culture Society. So they're a group of people who gather regularly, and their motto is, how do they say it? Deeds, not creeds. So they're sort of not theistic, but they are ethicists, and they gather together, but they have wonderful material. And one of the things that it did say was that one thing they strongly suggest is breathe, breathe, breathe. And they put out some meditation examples online for people to be able to do that for themselves, and also to do it with children, because children are, so the first thing maybe is our own physiology. We need to help ourselves stay in a calm mode. Now, I say all that and take for granted that, see, they've put out that's a link on an internet link on the computer. So if we're saying people don't have it, I think that's an extra challenge. But I think there are materials out there about both good health care and good practices about hygiene, and then also for mental health. What you can do, then you should work on that. And what you can understand is beyond your control, I suppose, is especially people of faith. I've been using the expression a lot. Well, I have to give that over. I'll give that over, but I can do this. I can join Kevin when he asks me. I can volunteer to call students. So the things I can do. So I think we can encourage each other that way. What can you do? Can you, there are people doing this is not profound, but it's helpful. I think people are doing very funny song parodies. I saw a song parody of the Beatles song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and it's, I want to wash my hands. It's very funny, and it lifts the spirits a little bit and reminds you to wash your hands, So I think we have to try to keep I guess some of us who have, like we mentioned, the privilege and do have various access to things, to keep ourselves in good spirit and try in every method we know to share that with people. I imagine it's an extra challenge when so many people don't have resources. If you're speaking of people who actually live outdoors as a routine thing, it's much harder because they would need physical contact to get information. So there's an extra challenge there. I appreciate that. I realize that. But the best we can, I think, in every format and platform we have, I think we should try to spread good and accurate news. I think that's the thing. I think even in this country, Kevin might attest, we're fortunate that we live in New York State, and our governor is the intelligent, rational man that he is. There are other states who don't have that in the United States, and there certainly our federal system leaves a lot to be desired at the moment in terms of rational, good information. I think we hear conflicting information from our own central government, which is disappointing.
So my last question for people, and thank you, is we're in the season of Lent. Many are feeling despair in this moment and feeling a bit of a darkness, almost a Good Friday experience. As we look towards the resurrection, as we look towards Easter, as a last question, where do you both find hope? Lois, where do you find hope? And then we'll have Grace have the last word.
I think I've said recently in my life, I'm now in my mid-60s, and one of the things that I realized is that I do experience myself as very grateful a lot of the time. I'm very grateful. I mean, to the point of silliness almost, but grateful when I find a parking space, and then grateful for the biggest things. Grateful for my family, grateful for my work, grateful for the good colleagues I have, the people I know, that mostly I can depend that the sun will come up again tomorrow. And grateful for that. So I think the hope for me is to remind myself of the things that I'm grateful for, and to be in touch with good people and sort of do some of the work. I think if you would save your life, you should lose your life, right? So I believe that strongly. I think that trying to do some things that keep my own spirits up, but then might be in service of others, I find hope in that. And that's, of course, what the big story of Easter is, right? It's someone who put their life in service and gave his life for others, so gave his life for us. So I think on my own little scale, I'd like to try to do that as well. Do whatever gifts and talents I might have to try to figure out how to put that in service of others. And that then I see others do that, and together that gives me hope.
Grace?
So I would say I find hope in three things. First of all, from Jesus. Secondly, from my family. And thirdly, from the people who are around me, my friends and well-wishers. So if I say that I find hope within Jesus, if I say about Jesus, then I have to think of the church. If I have to think of the church, then I'll have to think of the religious hymns which we sing. And we are the choir group of our church. So we sing on a regular basis in the church. So within the words and within the melody of those hymns, I can establish a certain connection which is connecting me with Jesus. I don't know about the others, but when I am in the church singing and when Jesus is in front of me, I find a divine peace within myself. So that automatically calms me down to a certain extent. And a voice from within speaks that no matter what it is, there is always someone who will look after you and will not let you suffer at the end of the day. So that is the first thing. Secondly, my family why I say this, because from the very childhood, I have seen my grandpa and my father. These two people are really mentally positive people who always like told us, always directed us in a positive direction. And the way they speak, the way they handle situations, um, it automatically creates a certain hope within you that if these people are with you, so nothing can go wrong. If by chance anything goes wrong, we will be able to, manage it. So I can talk about my little brother. So when he was younger, once we found that there was a like little portion in his reading table, uh, where he wrote that no matter what, Jesus is with us. So by reading that little statement, like, we really felt that if this little guy believes that Jesus is with us, then we are nobody to doubt him when we are in distress. So that gives me hope. And the third thing is the people around me. If I mention about my friends, so I don't know why, but uh, for a sarcastic reason, my friends share everything with me when they're in problem or when they are feeling low. I don't know, they have certain confidence in me, and they have a certain trust that if I share it to Grace, doesn't matter if she gives me the solution or not, but uh, it feels good. And not and like, not everybody face this kind of situation. Like, it gives me a positive vibe. So when I feel hopeless, I think about them and think that if they are so much confident about me, so why am I losing hope? I have i have so many people around me that I should not lose hope. Together we can fight anything. So these three things are very important for me, and these are the three sources where I derive my hope from.
Thank you. I can tell you that for me, I'm finding hope in the two of you at this point. And I'm looking forward to when all this madness is over. Maybe we could get a video of your choir, Grace, and maybe we could show the choir at Manhattan College as well, and see how they connect with each other. So we know that this is going to end soon. And Grace ended with the point that says, that we have to come together for this, right? So this disease, this little tiny microscopic virus, is able to travel around the world, travel across these borders. The only way we're going to be able to get through it is joining together and working together across these borders. And even from the isolation of our own homes, we have to come together. And that's at the basis of these movements of Pax Romana that we've had approaching 100 years next year. So I want to thank you both, and please continue to join in conversations with others and with your friends. And please, our thoughts and prayers to your families and to your communities and to the students in your other countries. Thank you both so much. We'll see you soon. Thanks.